And the last game that we're going to go into details on this episode is Treasure Island.
Designed by Marc Paquien. Artist is Vincent Dutrait, and it's published by Matagot. Tim wanted me to say it wrong.
Yeah, I know. All right, well, anyway, so Treasure Island is... I got this one, Eric. I'm assuming you knew that one.
Right,
Eric's explained the other ones. He's coffee break. Basically, Treasure Island is a game where one player is playing Long John Silver, and he has hidden a treasure on the map. And then all the other players are playing, I guess, treasure hunters or pirates or whatever. I didn't read the rule book. This was taught to us. And so I can't remember the terminology. I think you're just pirate or treasure hunters or something.
No, I think you're pirates on that ship.
Awesome. That's what you are. And then you're trying to find that treasure that Long John Silver has buried because he's in jail. Unfortunately, though, he gets out at a certain point throughout the game. There's a calendar that kind of does the turn track. Once he gets out, he can beeline it for the treasure, and if he makes it there before anybody else, he wins. Otherwise, all the other players are playing independent. It's all competitive, trying to find the treasure themselves. Basically, the way the game works is there's a ton of dry erase markers everywhere. So everybody has a player's screen that obviously has your abilities and stuff. And you have a small replica. Everything I'm talking about is dry erase, by the way. Every component, pretty much. You have these little mini maps of the big map in the middle of the table. It's like literally like a 16th of the size. And you can color on it and stuff to kind of denote like areas because it's separated into sections. And I guess you're interrogating Long John Silver throughout the game. So every round, he has to give you new clues on where it's at, except that he puts a token under it and it may be true or false. You don't know. So it's like the Pandora, Big Bang Theory says it all the time. The cat in the box thing.
Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. So you're like, is that true or not? I don't know. So you have to go off it, but he only gets like 2 of those throughout the game. So it is kind of a, the guess, outguess your opponent kind of thing. Except most of these clues are usually like, it'll be like, is it within 5 miles of a player? And then he says, no, or whatever the case may be. And then obviously he might be lying. He may not be. And so he's making it easier for the players to find it because as you hear and get clues, you can deduce like whole sections of the board, right? At the very beginning, you actually get a tile that tells you it is not here. Everybody gets a different one. So I know that, for instance, if there's like 8 sections to the game, I know it's not in section 3, which is like literally an eighth of the board. So you kind of narrow it down quick, but it's not as easy as it might sound. So what you do on your turn though, you move around your guy on the board. You have a specific starting area for whatever color you are. And Long John Silver has marked on his little mini map where it's at. And he can pick anything. And this game is there's no squares. It's free movement. If you're familiar with games like War Machine or war games like 40K and stuff like that, you move your character around with a ruler and you draw a line on the path on the actual board where you moved. Once you land there, then you can do stuff like dig or search, and you take these circles and place them around you and then draw a big circle. So you're like, is it within this area? And then the Long John Silver has to say yes or no, basically. Although he can slightly throw you off. It's neat because he'll put a token into a treasure chest box and they'll hand it to you. One of these tokens actually shows a treasure, which means you won the game because you found it. So as he's handing it to you, you're like, oh yeah, because he only has so many of these to pass out throughout the game. Otherwise he's going to say no, and that's it. But if you find it, he might mess with you and hand you a box, and you open the box and you might just get a clue. Like it's east of you or whatever, or it might be a special action that you can use as a free action. And so you get really excited as it's handed to you, and then you get disappointed somewhat. But he does that because he gets, what does he get from it? He actually gets more
special action cards, I think, or something.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, he gets special action
for giving
cards.
those clues out.
Yes, for giving those out. So sometimes he does want to do that, but you want to regulate how much you're doing that with, because now you're giving people ammunition to find your treasure. So on your turn, you basically get 2 actions. Most of them, you can move. When you move like you have a ruler. It's actually in inches, so you can move 6 inches. You can at that point you can move and search, which is a small circle, or you can dig, which is a full action, and it allows you to dig like a bigger circle essentially.
I think it's like a 2-inch circle versus a 1-inch circle.
Yeah, it's bigger.
If you move, you
sure.
move like up to 3 instead of 6.
Yeah, and oh, that's right, because you move 6, or you can move 3 and do a small search, or you can stand still and do a dig.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody has like one or two special actions that is specific to their character, like independent or asymmetrical powers. And that's most of the game. I mean, you're just moving around trying to draw circles, and hopefully you find the treasure based on the clues that he's given you. Eventually, the Long John Silver will break out. He starts on a prison that the players choose, I think, as a group, if I remember correctly.
I believe that's right.
Yeah, you're like, all right, let's tell him to start here. So he can't like start really close to where his treasure is.
Right.
And on top of that, some of the special abilities make it to where he doesn't want to just beeline it, because if he's beelining it, it might give away where it's at. So he might want to zig and zag slightly to throw the players off.
Right.
And then whoever finds the treasure is the winner of the game.
Yeah, I would just add one thing too.
Sure.
Every time he gives the group a clue, he puts this token on it. If it's a check mark, it is true. I think if it's a question mark, it could be true. It could be false. You do have to use one of your actions to look at that token to see if it was a valid one or maybe one that he was lying on.
Yeah, and those are the ones that say he only gets like 1 or 2 throughout the game.
Right.
And he does not start with 1, so the first couple are true.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's just start off by saying any game that uses a ruler to move brings out the War Machine player in me, and I got so excited. And then we started doing it. It was so exciting. And then as you move and you put little circles down, you realize there are replicas of the templates that are like the same size as your mini map, and that's just so exciting.
Awesome. Yeah,
it's so silly.
Component wise, it was really good. At first, we were like, "Wow, these are really thin." We weren't initially impressed by the components, but actually,
because we sat down and punched it all. Oh, we watched George punch it all out, but we helped him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But actually, they were pretty good. Although the compass where you make the circle, I wasn't too impressed by that one. But otherwise, yeah,
because like most compasses in real life, you put like the golf pin in, the golf pencil, and it just slides in and holds it.
Right.
This one is like you take a really strong rubber band and attach it to one end. And the other end is a suction cup, so you like stab it on the board and then you draw a circle.
Which the suction cup actually worked out really well, just not the rubber band that held the marker.
And I guess I know why it's a rubber band, because it'll allow you to put different dry erase markers in there and not just be specific to like a 3-inch dry erase or whatever. Because there are smaller dry erases and they have like a peg on that side to push the back of the dry erase up against, and then the rubber band holds it still. But still, it could have been like concave a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of a flat, you're putting a round dry erase pen against a flat thing. Whereas if it was concave a little bit or like, dug out, it would kind of stick in there better.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way though, after he did it a bunch, it didn't really seem to be a problem.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. It wasn't that amazing.
It could have been a little better, but it works.
Artwork is insanely good. Unfortunately, it kind of gets in the way of all the dry erase markers. But I thought of an idea.
The map is also actually 2-sided.
Yeah,
so
you all play with the bright side, I guess?
We did play with the bright side.
We flipped it over and drew on it, and it's the same.
Yeah.
Maybe we had good lighting, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it changed anything.
No, I don't see that it changes very much, but depending on your preference, I think one side's like black and white.
It's like dull browns.
Yeah, it's
okay.
just like
it's
darker
basically
colors.
Mayfair colors.
Yes.
Mayfair yeah, okay. And the other side is, a more vibrant, natural, I guess, look.
Yeah, which is by far way cooler.
Yeah.
However, if you put a thin sheet of plexiglass on top of it and drew on that, I think it would solve all the problems. It has to be thin, though, because you don't want it to be so offset that you always have to look straight down at it to tell where you drew.
Right.
But if it's offset just slightly because of a little thin sheet of plexiglass, it would pop out like 3D, and I think that all the drawing would be a lot more visible. So, obviously you're adding, cost to a product. So it is what it is. But I think that would be neat to try, at least. Matt, you checked it out, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
Yeah, it looks neat. I think I'd have to play it to really understand, because I don't get all the bluffing mechanisms of Long John Silver and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems neat. It is neat how, like you said, you move with the ruler and everything. You got your circle templates you can lay down around your
That
little
was cool.
character and draw the circles and stuff. So yeah, it looks really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I will probably end up buying this.
I would say it's extremely luck based in my eyes. We had both sides of the spectrum in our 2 games that we played. The first game we played literally took 5 minutes. The first move, someone went to it, circled, and they found it first move, and then we had to play
He hit it right next to a spawn area.
Right.
Yeah. Which actually the second time he also hit it next to a spawn area.
And it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out for him. That's not the place that she initially searched.
I kind of agree with Eric, though. I did write this down. I still think it will come down to a player getting lucky. Unless Long John Silver buried the treasure on a landmark.
Oh, yes. Don't, to give you a heads up or, a leg up, really, you don't want to do it on a landmark. I'm going to put it on that little bitty island or on that particular thing. Because you kind of gravitate to those items.
And the other thing that really kind of seems like it would be irritating, like, because he's not, as far as I know, he's not restricted to do anything. So on the mini map, he could put a dot or an X or whatever anywhere on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't put it.
Well, there's
on the
areas,
red
mountains.
areas.
Yeah. There's a couple places you can.
but you bury it in the middle of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can go a few inches out on all sides of the island.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, you look around, and you see a little pirate ship floating off in the water. That's a very obvious place to hide the treasure, and it's probably somewhere where they're going to move, mostly. So I think it should have required you to put it on some sort of feature and not just in the middle of the,
Just randomly.
like in the middle of the road randomly,
Right.
or the middle of the grass, or the middle of the water.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff kind of, I don't know, deters from it because you're like, where'd you hide it? Did you hide it in this cove?
Right.
No, I just hid it in the random piece of dirt. So that's kind of meh to me. But the experience is so fun that I kind of overlooked it.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think that 90% of the time, Long John Silver is going to win. I don't know.
Oh, I actually felt quite opposite. I felt like 90% of the time the players are going to win because if you've seen our maps at the end of the game, we searched 95% of the areas.
Yeah, but that other 5% takes you like 400 turns to uncover.
That's true. You're not able to search everywhere, but you're able, and it's very luck based.
That's where the luck comes in because
Right.
you still, if you got an eighth of the map narrowed down, that eighth of the map still, even if you do dig actions and you get free movement, it's going to take you 30 rounds to fully cover up or uncover. And that's why I say that I think that Long John Silver should have to have some sort of thing that he puts it on and not just in the middle of the dirt. Because then you can kind of get into their head and be like, where'd you put it? Oh, you put it on that dock, or you put it in this little cove of the island, or, I don't know. Maybe
It'd
that's
be more thematic, probably.
it'd be more thematic. Maybe that's like a hard rule to enforce, but it would be cool, like a house rule to throw out. Like at least put it on something that makes sense why you would bury a treasure there. Like even if it's just a palm tree in the middle of the dirt, but like just having it in the middle of the road somewhere. Okay, are you really going to do that?
A grassy field, or just dump it out in the ocean.
Yeah, like dumping in the ocean's kind of bleh. So maybe like little rocks out in the ocean, maybe that would make more sense. Because I feel like if you're burying a treasure, you're usually like, at least back then, because obviously geofencing and stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So if you're burying a treasure, you're like, go right at the treasure that looks like a skull and look for the palm tree that has, that's half the size of all the other ones.
Right.
There's like some sort of logic to where you're burying it because you have to be able to explain it through a riddle or explain it through visuals and stuff. In this, if you just throw it in the middle of the ocean somewhere, it's kind of like, what kind of landmark do you have to reference? So, yeah. And the biggest thing I liked about it is that it's not an all versus one. It literally is an all versus all. Like one person versus all, but everyone's versus all.
I looked at someone's review, and I'm not sure exactly how it's supposed to be played. But according to them, you can share your information, but you don't have to. You don't really want to, but I wonder if you can make some kind of arrangements. So like, hey, you tell me where it's not, which region is not.
Well, yeah, if you trade information, that would be cool.
Right.
the interesting thing about that is like
But
the
you can lie.
negotiation. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
lie or whatever.
Because you don't really want you're not really working together. But every time they search, it is marking off a place on your map that you know it's not.
And it's also marking off a place on the board for Long John Silver to become active. You know, because like the longer you take, you know, if no one has any idea where it's at, you almost need to work together somewhat to get a leg up on Long John Silver.
Right.
Because you're like, he's coming out in 6 turns. We need to know a little bit more as a group, and then we can fist fight it to the end. But otherwise, he's going to win 100%. So we might as well give everybody at the table, you know, a chance over him. So I can kind of see that. That would be more of an interesting take on it, especially late game or mid game, probably.
Right.
So
we're getting desperate.
Yeah. You're like, no one's found it. I don't think we're anywhere close to it because you're searching an area that I know is not it because I started with the token. So let's work out. Let's trade some information. That's kind of a cool take on it.
Yeah.
I like to see that. Anyway, I think I pretty much, I think I pretty much covered everything I liked about it. I'm on it.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah, it might be, other than probably, I don't know. I like it a lot. As far as like a quote unquote hidden movement game, I guess it's not really a hidden movement game, so to speak.
Right.
But it's one of my favorites, even after one play. Matt, we're gonna play it.
Does it make you want to read the book?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah. Me neither.
I mean, that's a pretty like standard piece of literature at this point, right?
Yeah. I would think so.
Yeah. I did get hungry while I played it
Oh yeah.
because we said Long John Silver 1,000 times.
Made you want fish?
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, final thoughts.
No, it was decent. Pretty decent.
Matt?
Look forward to playing it when you buy it.
Cool. That is Treasure Island.